Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News on this Monday night. It's the 19th of November 2018 and I'm Jason Holmes, your host as usual for Raconteurs News on a Monday and Tuesday. Don't forget to click the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Well, if you're watching us live, you're watching us on YouTube, so get a bit of a like, only because it gives us a nice warm feeling inside. We don't want to try and twist your arm up your back, but if you could, that'd be really nice. Well, anyway, what a week, what a weekend, and what a week, and God knows what's going on in the world. I've got my co-host with me. He's sat there sort of all dazed because he doesn't know what's going on because of all the crazy madness that this world has seems to have fallen into. Paul Webster, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, pal. Yeah, it's. Said it once, I'll say it again. It's an absolutely bonkers world. Everything that's going on, I just, I sit there and I just shake my head, Jason, from things that happen actually in real life to things that you read. To it's the world's bonkers. Everything is like what was going forwards is now coming backwards. Up is down. Everything is bonkers. I was in the doctor's the other day. And a guy come in and goes up to the receptionist and says, yeah, I've got an appointment with the asthma clinic. Oh, and I'm here for my flu jab. And I just went, everything, people just follow this stuff blindly. And, it's about people doing a bit of research. Turn Emmerdale off.
Well, talking about what a mad world it is, I meant to bring this up last week actually, but it slipped my mind. I had a phone call last week, the week before last, from my ex, who is the mother of my daughter. So, well, I'm not going to name her. I'll give her. Let's just give her a pretend name or something, and we'll call her Tammy. Right. So Tammy phones me up. And she has a go at me for something that happened 24 years ago. And I'm absolutely, genuinely, she rung up to have a go at me for something that happened 24 years ago. That is how insane the entire world has become. But she were always a bit bonkers. What are you looking forward to tonight's show, Paul?
I think it's going to be a very interesting show. There's been a lot of claims made and a lot of toing and froing, and people have had a platform to have their say on it. So this is what we said when I remember when you and Andy asked me to come on here. He said it was a platform for people just like us who can come on here and have something to say, but have substance and work that they've researched and done. And I myself have been attacked and had claims made against stuff I've put out there because it's wrong and this, that and the other, but there's never been substance to it. But people gave me a chance to, again, redress some of that stuff, and, the stuff I do, I still stand by, so I think people have got that chance, and I'm looking forward to hearing the other side of things, so to speak.
Yeah, well, as we said, this is a bit of a right to reply from show 218 that we had Lee Garrett on, and Lee Garrett made one or two accusations against an individual, and I did say at the time that if this individual was listening, then if she could get in contact with me, you can have a right to reply, and as good as our word, as we always are here at Raconteurs News, is here we go. We've brought her back. Are you there, Anne?
She's muted.
I know. I don't know how to unmute her.
How's that?
Oh, there we go. Marvellous. Anne-Marie Carey, how are you doing? Welcome to Raconteurs News.
I'm just ringing Andy. I'm just ringing Andy up, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to answer the allegations that have been made by Lee Garrett in his previous interview, in which he tries to assassinate my character from information that he's been given by Mark Steele. So I'm looking forward to putting the record straight on events that have occurred and also to point out some of the lies that have gone unchallenged. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Fair enough. Well, tell us, start from the beginning, and from how you started to get into all what you started to do, because I know you've been doing it for some time. So fire away.
Right. Well, I think I've been active within my own community for about 13 years. I used to run a project called Action Through Music, which helped me to bring awareness, and also it helped me to raise funds. And I used to get all the local musicians and bands involved in my area, and then they'd come and perform for certain causes. So it was all voluntary. So I brought awareness for things such as the plight of child victims of war, what was going on in Gaza, chemtrails, racism, disability issues, welfare rights. I also put on a lot of events to help my local children's charity, which was called the Tree of Hope Children's Charity, which is based in Bexhill by a long friend of mine, Corinne Gardner. She's a lifelong president. I've also created and produced a CD with about 15 of the local bands and got the local publicans to pay for it, which raised funds for a fisherman's village called Tallenhook after the tsunami. So this enabled the villagers to purchase the wood and build the boats to feed the village. I did send the links and stuff about all this. So, and I organised an auction to raise funds for a water well in Bangladesh. That helps over 400 people could get clean water. So I was also proactive in my community and online. So I've always been organising events to bring awareness. So I run Hastings Against Chemtrails. We created the only chemtrail advert on TV, which was shown on PSTV. I also promoted bands from all over the country to a programme on PSTV that featured music from bands with an alternative message. I organised things like, so you have to excuse me, I've got a funny throat. I organised a chemtrail awareness event covering a whole day with speakers, and there was music involved at a big cricket ground. And Andrew Johnson came along to talk. He's someone who's known to be working with Dr. Judy Wood. I alerted the public to the dangers of the swine flu vaccine in my hometown. Then I kick-started a load of welfare reform protests off across the UK. And I held a one-woman protest outside my town hall every Saturday for 6 months. Then I started to get into research about 8 years ago, and I was known as Annie Logical on YouTube, and I had about 5,000 subscribers, I think, something like that. And I do a lot of research on false flag events, and I'd uncover facts that others might have missed. I know Ole Damagard just praised my research skills, and I think he's also used some of my research in some of his presentations as well. So about a year ago, I was booted off YouTube, like a lot of researchers were when they had the big call. And a subscriber who creates websites named Steve Cole contacted me and said that my research was too important to lose, and he offered to make me a website. That's his job. He's made several websites for various people. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's been made public that I must be in league with the government because I've got such a professional website. So I wanted people to know exactly who made that website. So just prior to getting booted off, I'd found evidence that one of the supposed victims of the Grenfell Tower event was being untruthful, and the newspaper was giving false stories. So needless to say, I made this public. I was threatened by him that he was going to get his lawyer onto me, and the ITV News even featured my YouTube channel, calling me an online troll. That is also on YouTube, obviously not on my channel, but some other people mirrored it, so it's still out there. And I found evidence that a man on Facebook who was running the biggest chemtrail Facebook, was named Sylvain Henry, was in fact working for the CIA, because I found his online CV, and that openly stated his involvement in data collected on Facebook, and also being one of the people who actually made the database where they collect all the information off Facebook. So he threatened me with his lawyers as well. So I've been doing this for many years, and I've always shared whatever I found, and people can make their own minds up then, because you give the information. It's up to people whether they take it on board or not, really. So before my YouTube channel got closed down, I'd been looking into the connections between 5G and the Parsons Green event, because what I uncovered was evidence that they were actually testing 5G, including a new upgrade for the BBC for this new technology. It was called New Tech Dialogue. That's what it's called, right?
Can you just expand on that? What event was it, sorry?
The Parsons Green event?
No, can you expand on that for people?
Oh, right. Well, there was an event where supposedly they claimed it was a terror event, and they had a train with a little bucket which had a little bit of fire in the bucket.
Is that the little proof?
Yeah,
the proof little bag.
That's the one. But anyway, it was so ludicrous and ridiculous that I just thought you must be joking. So I did a lot of research on that, and that actually got banned from YouTube because they said you can't have that on there. It's too near the truth. So with that Parsons Green event, I started looking into, because I like to go behind the scenes of what's going on behind the scenes. So I looked at all what was going on behind the scenes, and I found out that the BBC were testing this New Tech Dialogue, which just been upgraded a few days before the event. There was a big conference going on in Europe where they were talking about, they actually said in the conference that they were going to be showing a live event involving the BBC's new upgraded technology and something that was going to go worldwide. Well, next thing, this happens. So
coincidence, isn't it, that?
I know. So I started looking further into it. Now, I found out that one of the witnesses, I can't remember his full name now, but he was all over the place. He supposedly was on the train and he saw this, that and the other, and he was getting interviewed everywhere and all over the place. So I started looking into his background, and what I found is that he had, in previous episodes, had been involved with the BBC, and he was also involved with this new technology and the upgrades of it for the BBC. So here they've got the main witness to the so-called story of this little bomb, if you like. So obviously I made all that public, and the next thing, that was his name, Alma Hall. Mr. Aylmer Hall, that was it. And he contacted me because, he said, I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I sort of started quizzing him on YouTube because people were asking him questions then. And he was saying things like, according to the papers and the story, there was a fireball and all this. I said, we've seen the bloody plastic bin. I mean, stupid, you know what I mean? You've got all the seats around it, they're not even touched. Where was this fireball? And of course he sort of said, the papers have exaggerated it, there was no fireball. And it became obvious in the end what they were doing, they were testing 5G. So then, when I looked at all the other false flags, terror-related events that had happened, because I'd covered up almost all of them, I started going into a different sort of side of my research then, you see. I wanted to find, who else has been testing 5G, I thought. So, and I've got a video on YouTube at the moment under my now name, which is Logical Annie. I used to be Annie Logical. I've changed it now because I've got a new channel, just so that they wouldn't recognise the name and try and boot me off. That's all, really. So yeah, I was looking at all the other false flags that had happened, and lo and behold, I found that every single one of them, whether you're talking about the Brussels Brussels airport, Belgium truck, Paris attacks, all of them, they all involved new 5G upgrades because all the telecommunication companies would actually advertise. Usually it was just a matter of months previously that they'd advertise to say, they were testing 5G, whether it was a crowd control thing or it was a media thing. Usually it was a matter of like quite a few different things. But they were all testing the 5G technology. So, well, I lost my channel, obviously, but then I had my website. So what I did was I started to collect all the evidence on 5G on my website, which is called Analogical Uncensored. Now, not just the dangers of 5G, but thousands of studies to show how the technology causes health problems already, who was involved in the 5G, which includes all the companies, agencies, government departments, EU bodies, CIA, DARPA, Innovate UK, Horizon 2020, the list is endless. So the idea behind it was that I was going to collect as much information as I could, and then I was going to start this mass action campaign. It's a leaflet campaign. And the reason why I did this because I wanted to collect all the relevant information and have it in one place. And then when we started printing the leaflet out with information about 5G, there was a link on it then to my website so that people could go and find out more information. So people will go, now the leaflet campaign's still ongoing now. I've been running it for about 8 months, nearly 9, and it's reached over 160 communities around the UK. So there's people, people sponsor the leaflets, and then everything is up out there in the open. All of it gets conducted out on the open, so everyone can see who's donating what, how much is spent on leaflets, how much is getting spent on postaging and packaging and all that sort of stuff. And we can also, post leaflets out to whoever else, as well as people who can't. See, a lot of people can't afford to purchase leaflets. They're living on a budget, but they really want to get involved in the communities and get out there. So by doing that,
there's a lot of people just don't know what to do. There's a lot of people talking, especially in my local area now. People are never expected to be talking about lots of different subjects, but they just don't know what to do.
This is it, you see. So I figured if we could actually get the information out there, and then we can, advise people to get, there's also on my website. There's also letters and stuff like that they can use, and they can go and ask questions about it and stuff like that to these people who put themselves in positions of power. So it wasn't just the leaflets. There was more to it than that. So yeah, that's quite successful, and that's still ongoing now. And then I got an interview with Richie Allen. That was it. So round about this time was about the time when I first came across Steele. Now,
when was this about, Anne?
Well, I started in March. The campaign started in March.
This year?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it's been going about 8 months, and so it was just not long after, just before, around about the time of the campaign, was when I started to see these videos of Mark Steele where he was actually in the council hall, and he was actually, asking the councillors what's going on, what's this stuff, and what's 5G, and I was so happy about that. I was really, really pleased when I seen that. I thought that's exactly what we need, people like that. So when I had my interview with Richie Allen, because he wanted to know about the campaign, so that's why I was getting interviewed. So I was talking about the campaign, and I did mention to him about Mark Steele, and that he should get, they should interview him because he had a lot of knowledge, and he was fighting the council in his area. So a couple of days later, he got Steele on, and Steele obviously made a big impression. During this time as well, Steele had mentioned to me that he's before he got his interview, he mentioned to me that his idea of fighting this was for people to join his new political party called Sun, which is Save Us Now. And he asked me back then if I wanted to be a candidate, and expressed his wish that the political party would take off all over the country to stop 5G. Now, I had misgivings about that being a viable option. I even said that to him, you know, in the beginning. But I could feel that he meant well and that he was getting the word out, and I thought that was important. So I changed my leaflet to include a link to his political party called The Sun. And then, you know, the campaign was still going on. And then a few days, after he'd had about half a dozen more interviews, you know, I talked to him about the leaflet. I showed him, I told him what was going to get put on the leaflet. He said, oh yeah, he was quite happy about that. Let him know that I'd put his political party on there as well, and all that I was advertising that as well. Oh yeah, he said in an email, oh yeah, that's great, yeah. And then he got about another, I don't know, half a dozen more interviews after that, but he never ever mentioned the campaign, which I thought was a bit odd. And I thought, why are you not mentioning the campaign? Because I'm advertising your political party. So I asked him, I sent him a message on Facebook. I said, why do you never ever mention the campaign? Don't you think it's a good idea when your political party is getting, mentioned as well? So he just said that he didn't have time. So I just left it at that. I thought, okay, whatever then. So, well, it was during this period that I decided it would be a good idea to have experts with knowledge of EMF and radio frequencies on board. So I contacted what I believe was the most well-known anti-EMR experts, and I sent them an email and later spoke to them on the phone. Now, I asked them their views on the fact that Gateshead lampposts were emitting 5G. And then what they told me is basically what has started this whole, this whole discord off, because I contacted the Bioelectromagnetic Research Initiative, and they've been testing for decades. They've been anti this technology for decades. They're also affiliated to PowerWatch and SITA, which is the Safe Schools technology, because members of the three organisations all coexist in each organisation. It's only a small research group. It's not a big, massive group that's affiliated to anyone. They're independent. So now I was told that a scientist named Alistair Phillips had contacted Steele already, and that he had offered to go to Gateshead for free and to test the lamppost with proper equipment, because they had mentioned to him that the equipment that he used was not sufficient to pick up the signals that he was claiming was 5G. So at this point, Steele became abusive on the phone and called them charlatans who didn't know what they were talking about. So if I can, I would just like to give you a bit of background on Alistair Phillips. Let me just get this right. So Alistair Phillips is one of the UK's leading voices on electromagnetic fields and radio frequencies. He's run PowerWatch, which has been researching the links between electromagnetic fields and health risks for about 30 years, and is completely independent of government and industry. He's also a member of the Safe Schools Information Technology Alliance, which addresses the concerns of Wi-Fi in schools. Now, he's also a member of BEMRI, Bioelectromagnetic Research Initiative, which was formed to create a research portal for the scientific community and interested members of the lay public, which helps to rapidly disseminate international research findings, best practice measures, and scientific hypotheses on matters related to electromagnetic phenomena. He's also an advisor to the Radiation Research Trust and was once the newsletter editor for Electronics and Computing for Peace. He's also been involved in investigations into the misuse of electromagnetic weapons by the military. Now, Alistair Phillips is a scientist who's been involved in this area for the past 50 years. He's also involved in 2 companies that supply equipment to test EMR and RF and protecting shielding items. You can go and find him on YouTube. He's been interviewed by people like Dr. McCall and stuff. Now, in June of this year, he had a study published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Environmental and Public Health, in which he studied the rise of brain tumours between 1995 to 2015 and concluded that one possible factor is the widespread use of cell phones. He's also chaired and presented at international conferences on these topics. Now, EM Fields, the company that he runs, was also established to provide high-quality measurements for equipment and screening products to protect people from the ever-increasing level of electromagnetic radiation or electrosmog in our environment. So he designed them and also made them. He's also one of the 230 scientists and doctors who signed a moratorium to stop the 5G rollout. So when I heard that Steele had claimed that they were charlatans, I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe it. Why would you do that? These people, their track record speaks for themselves. So now, whenever Steele is asked why he didn't take the experts up on this offer, he claims that it's because they had told him in the beginning that the lampposts were not 5G, to which he became angry and dismisses them. Now, this is an absolute total fabrication. I've got an email, that I'd like to read out to you, and it proves beyond a doubt that they were not hostile to him at all, and they were happy to come along and test with the proper equipment. So hang on, I'm just going to get that email to read. Right, okay. It said, and I've got the proof of this, I can put these emails right out there if I need to. I have been in contact with Mark Steele and also offered to visit Gateshead with a range of more professional test equipment than he used. He used a very basic broadband isotropic meter that would pick up any signal within 50 megahertz to 3.5 gigahertz coming from all directions. He would need equipment that includes a log per directional antenna and indeed covers a wider range of frequencies. Did you see the video clip of him waving his meter towards a streetlight he claimed was producing 4,000 millivolts? But I'm afraid that's not possible coming from the small transmitter where he was pointing his meter. It's not a suitable meter for the particular task. Along with another member of our group, I have phoned him several times to offer my services freely if he could arrange for me to carry out a free survey for members of the public of whom he has contact who are suffering health issues that is suggested are coming from these lamppost transmitters that he claims are 5G. Mark may be correct about 5G, but until proper measurements are carried out, I cannot make comment. We would like to take measurements at Gateshead, though we must ensure that we have contact with someone like Mark, and most importantly, independent folk who suffer the effects of ELF pollution living in close proximity to these transmitters. We find it very strange that he's not taking us up on our offer. I told him it could help him with his very worthy campaign, and we certainly need more people like Mark to bring about awareness. Now, to me, that is not people who are claiming that it's not 5G at all. This is people who are saying we'd like to come along and test. You use the wrong equipment. We've got the proper equipment. We can test these lampposts and help your cause. He's basically then turned around and become completely obnoxious towards them, calling them names that you don't want to talk about. You're talking a load of rubbish as charlatans and everything.
Be obnoxious, would it?
So he become hostile to Alistair during this communication, and given the fact that Alistair Phillips designs such equipment, and that is one of the UK's most prominent anti-EMF proponents, that accusation to me was just staggering. I just couldn't believe it. So After that, I started.
So sorry, Anne. I just want to do a recap. So everything that we're talking about, everything that we're going to be talking about in the next hour or so or hour and a half or so, and everything that we've previously talked about. This is all come from a disagreement on the antenna and on top of lampposts.
That's where it stemmed from, yeah. And in the beginning, that's where it stemmed from. But it's obviously carried on from there because, like I say, I'm a researcher and I like to do a lot of in-depth research. So I found that stuff that questions need to be asked and someone needs to be answering those questions. So this is just the start of what all this came from, because I want people to know my side of the story and actually speak up for these people who've been fighting this stuff for decades. They don't deserve to be disrespected the way he's disrespected them. So this is the reason why I want people to know where it's all stemmed from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I asked him why he'd refused their help. That's when he basically turned against me. So because up to that point I'd promoted him and his political party. So I wanted to know the truth about Gateshead lampposts, as well as some other people who lived in the area. Now, I arranged for a local lady to meet up with the experts, and tests were carried out over 2 days on the very same lamppost that Steele had filmed. Now, this lady who met with the experts, she wasn't a stranger to Mark Steele. Her name's Lisbeth, and basically when he did his first interview in the Northumbria University, she was the person who filmed it. There was another lady there in the area called Dee, and she'd offered to help him in his campaign, and he just basically refused to get involved. Well, anyway, so Lisbeth meets up with the experts, and they did the test over a period of time. And this is their report that they came up with. They said, in May 2018, Benry visited Gateshead at locations where it had been suggested 5G transmitters were mounted on lampposts and were operating and producing around 4,000 millivolts. These were said to be found at locations such as a shopping arcade, by the bus stop at Wickham, and from video recordings by a certain third party. The instrument used by the third party was an isotropic ref meter that records signals received from all directions, not simply the direction of that the meter is pointing. We used professional RF test meters and spectrum analyzer, and the strongest signal recorded at this location was 1.4 volts from an array of mobile phone transmitters located a few hundred yards down the opposite side of the main road from the shopping arcade. After testing around a 5-mile radius from Wickham, readings range from 0.25 to 6.5. It could be seen from the video recordings of the said party. RF meter readings consistently ranged around a 4-volt mark wherever any measurements were taken, even from the inside of a car travelling along the main carriageway, which is really not possible unless perhaps a smartphone was nearby or used to video the meter readings. So trying to monitor signals from the inside of a car, especially moving vehicles, is a pointless exercise. Smartphone easily produces readings around levels shown in these video recordings, even when it's not in transmission mode. All RF meters monitor frequencies from sources with the highest power density, not lower, or accumulation of other signals. We could not find 5G signals coming from the street lighting at any location we surveyed. Benry is an independent, self-funded research group strongly opposed to 5G and other electromagnetic pollution, of which long-proven causes to harm all biological systems. So that was their report. Now, there's also a video in which he deconstructs the antenna unit found atop one of these lampposts and claims that it's 5G. While he's doing his video, he's claiming that it's 5G. Now, this is a conversation from someone who is actually not a Steele supporter, but is an expert in this field, and another man who is a Steele supporter, but is also an expert in this technology. And this conversation can be found on the Facebook group EMF Warriors, and it was already seen by many people. So the non-Steele supporter states, this is not This is no smart grid CMS antenna. They don't have sophisticated circuit board like that, nor have I found any with the shape of that aerial. They look exactly like bidirectional amplifier boosters, which can easily be powered by the lines in those posts. The clincher for me would be if there were no 5G nodes or repeaters that could initiate the transmission, which would be jumped across those amplifiers atop the lampposts. Truth is, he did not document the existence of nodes. I admit I took this as a given based on his history. Now, this is the reply from the Steele supporter. He says, "You were right. I have positively identified the unit from Mark Steele's video. It is indeed a CMS unit, specifically a Harvard Leaf node powered by the ballast in the lamppost. It operates at 900 megahertz, so it is not capable of transmitting 5G millimeter waves. However, they operate at 100% continuous transmission and are measured at 12 to 25 milliwatts of power at 3 meters distance, which equates to 0.007 milliwatts, which in order of magnitude is higher than safe. Mark should have been more careful. His meter was reading properly, but he misidentified the type of radiation, and in doing so has weakened his position and his credibility." Now, that's from one of his own supporters. Now, the thing is, to your average layperson, everything that he states appears to be true, because people haven't got any expertise in the area to doubt what he says. So when experts are given information that completely refutes his findings, I think that we have to take this as credible enough evidence to listen to. So obviously after that, it was like everybody in Elizabeth who went round with the people from Gateshead, including Dee, the woman who offered to help him. These are people in his local area. Everybody's a 5G denier. Anybody who dares to point out any flaws in his testing or the fact of his equipment, you're a 5G denier. So by this time, I just realised that not only is he lying about the fact that the lampposts were 5G in the first place, not only is he lying about the conversation that took place in the first place between himself and the experts, but he's not even telling the truth about the antenna either. And he's calling experts with proven track records in this, who've been fighting it for decades, calling them charlatans. Now, and people who are actually involved in a 5G action campaign, who are actually out there doing stuff, is calling us 5G deniers. So I knew something was wrong. I cut all the ties to him at that point. But if anybody asked my opinion, or if I saw any comments in groups about the Gateshead lamppost, I would always state what I knew to be true. Now, that was just how it was for months.
Sorry, Alan, can I just interject? The fact that these lampposts can't transmit 5G now, and they're all, should I say, I can't remember what the guy's name was, the expert stated that they're incapable of transmitting 5G. How much of an upgrade then is this going to be to do it? Because they are having these test beds, so if these lampposts are going to need a major upgrade, I can't see that being plausible. So there must be something there. Do you know what I'm getting at, Anne?
What do you mean it can't be plausible? If you go on my website.
No. What I mean is that they can't transmit 5G now, right? So
not now.
So at some point they're going to be able to transmit 5G. What if at all?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. So how will we be able to find out about that? When will what if these are incapable now? That means there's going to be something done to them, or is it just a case of tweaking something?
That's right. That's exactly right. Now I've got a video out there, and it talks about that. There's a company called Talenza, and they were given a contract. And these lampposts there's thousands of them everywhere. Okay, all over the country, and they were given the contract that. What they said they are, if you look at their Talenza website, it will state on there that they are 5G enabled. In other words, they're ready for other partners to join with whatever they need to upgrade them to 5G. Now, the reason why they're not all ready is because if you go on the Ofcom's website, you will find out that there is an auction going on right now, yeah, and they're selling off the bandwidth for all the 5G. This is what's happening, and it's been going on for a few months, and it's still going on until they've Ofcom sell all the bandwidths off to all the telecommunications companies. Yeah, once that lamppost will then be added to, it will be 5G, and they will go fully live then. But as it stands now, they're not.
What about here's something I just thought of. Smart meters are involved in this, aren't they? So smart meters must have 5G technology within them, whether to receive and probably transmit. Well, it's got to, hasn't it? It's got to go both ways. So there's a lot of people that have got smart meters at the moment. Now, would they be would that smart meter be emitting any 5G at all, or even if it's just a small amount until the system comes online? Would the smart meter be emitting 5G?
They're not emitting to smart meters, but once everywhere's once they roll it out everywhere, and this million technology is going to be everywhere. I mean, it'll just be there'll be no escaping from. The smart meters. They need the smart meters to create this whole smart agenda. They really do, because that's a whole part of it. Obviously, when they start the Internet of Things, you're going to have things talking to each other. Electricity. Your smart meter will be in contact with your fridge and your phone and everything. So it'll all be the whole smart agenda will be rolled out then. But the thing is, obviously, there's 5G testing going on. No one's denying that 5G testing is going on. It's getting rolled out in all sorts of places. I've documented all the places where it's getting rolled out. And, I mean, even just not long ago, they said they'd rolled it out in Manchester, They're on about where they're going to roll it out next. This is just ongoing, and it's also been... There's test beds have gone on. I've documented all the test beds that have gone on. I've documented all the places where they've had testing of one form or another. And I've documented. I'm not saying that 5G. People say, "Oh, you're denying 5G." I'm not denying 5G at all. I wouldn't be trying to fight against it. I'm saying that what they're doing is trying to roll it out, and they're waiting for Ofcom's auction to go ahead, so that they can all, pay whatever it is they've been paying and use whatever bandwidths they're going to be using. And then it will be rolled out fully. But in the meantime, the lampposts are not emitting 5G. And I take that as being, it's come from experts, and I'll take that as fact.
Great. Well, I just want to mention our chat room. We've got a very, very, very busy chat room tonight. A very, very busy chat room, and it all seems to be perfectly agreeable. All not agreeable, but everyone's being civil to each other. That's the word I was looking for. Everyone seems to be being civil to each other. So big hello to you if you're in the chat room. That's Newbie and Apple Charlotte as well. Apple Charlotte. Welcome to Raconteurs News. Super Leads. Dean Yates is in there. Paula B. Ali G is in as well. Steve Owens. All these people, many people really interested in what you've got to say tonight, Annie. Where do you want to go next? I mean, we've sort of gone off on a tangent. You were telling us your story, and we've sort of gone off and dragged you off on a tangent. And
no, fine. No. So right, okay. So, but obviously, I've explained the whole where the dispute came in and what happened after that. So, but. About 6 weeks ago, when I started getting a lot of hassle on Facebook and places, and people, claiming I was 5G denier and all this. And basically, Mark Steele and his twin brother Graham, who goes under the name of Ben Travis as well on Facebook, by the way, which is why do you need a false name? But anyway, yeah, so I started getting called names, and I was seeing comments here, there, and everywhere calling me a 5G denier. Well, that's when I decided that I'm not having this. You know, I thought I'm not going to be treated like this when I'm obviously running a campaign of awareness for months. I've got my website updating everything that I can possibly get my hands onto. You know, I'm not having it. So that's when I decided to go back onto YouTube. I created another YouTube channel called Logical Annie, and I started to share the information about, well, the first thing that I discovered was that he had smart technology for being sold on the Israeli Homeland Security website. Now, you know, you don't get any old Tom, Dick and Harry selling this stuff on Israeli Homeland Security website. He's also got stuff on for sale on the UK Defence Supplies UK website, which is affiliated to Innovate UK. Now, Innovate UK is one of the agencies that are pushing the smart city agenda. Now, when I realised that, I just thought, well, there you go. You know, why the conflict of interest there? So I made that known at the time, and then I did a bit more digging, and then. What I found was that I discovered that his LinkedIn profile advertises both the EU's Horizon 2020 framework and Civitas Urban Mobility. Now, Horizon 2020 framework funds the Civitas projects, and that both Steele and Gateshead Council were both involved in the Civitas Urban Mobility Programme. Now, this is the EU's project Smarter Cities, which is funded by the Horizon 20 framework. Horizon 2020 is the biggest EU funding research programme that currently funds over 2,300 organisations, councils, including Gateshead Council, universities, government bodies in the UK. They're all pushing the smart agenda. And the Horizon 2020 framework is committed to supporting the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which we know is Agenda 2030. So it's financing this Civitas Urban Mobility Programme that both Gateshead Council and Steve are linked to. Like I said, I've sent you some links on that. So I started to ask the questions, and how can you have links to these groups? And, you know, how do you not know about Agenda 2030 when this is exactly what these groups are pushing? So anyway, the Civitas Urban Mobility Project is specific to the smart agenda. It supports demonstrations and research projects that implements measures on smart cities and communities. Now, what I found extraordinary was that one of the collaborations that Civitas Urban Mobility advertises is this one called the Sunrise Project. So, have you got the links for that? Because I did send you the links, you know, to show the logo. Yeah?
I'm not sure if Jason's got those links.
I'm doing it now. Now. There we go.
Wow.
Oh dear. Right. So yeah, if you can just show them links, right?
There we go.
Right.
Can you see that, everybody? Can you see that?
That's the Sunrise Civitas. One of the Civitas Urban Mobility's projects called Sunrise. It's Sustainable Urban Neighbourhoods. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this Sunrise project is a collaboration between the council, local and cross-border partners, trialling living labs in the context of physical interventions, integrating research and implementation processes that co-creation experiments and evaluations, which has a specific pilot to develop a campaign around the implementation of the co-created solutions that help with simultaneous applications, disseminations and showcase, which we will organise using street trial events which will involve street furniture, right? Mm-hmm. To test the solutions adopted, and for further proof, the pilot talks of a collaboration between the local and council and local partners. Now, It talks of ways to facilitate the collaboration using neighbourhoods as living labs and to test solutions in implementing the smart agenda. It also states that each of the areas involved will have its own project that can also have its own logo, somehow reminiscent of the mother logo. So can you put Sun's political group up, please?
There you go.
No. Now, is it not rather odd, yeah, that this very project that involves using living labs in neighbourhoods, yeah, to testing of this smart agenda, and yet we've got this motive of both the groups, you know, and that's called Sunrise, and this is called the Sun Party. I mean. And then you've got Gateshead Council, who are actually part of the Civitas Urban Mobility. So what I'm saying is the Sunrise Project is one of the collaborations under the title of the Civitas Urban Mobility that both he and Gateshead Council are both linked to. And here's the same collaboration talking about doing the very same things that Steele's claiming to be doing with the council. Well, sorry, it's just too much of a coincidence for me.
Is that the very same council that is just about to open a crematorium as well?
Well, they obviously, you know, they've mentioned that they're going to be opening a crematorium. I mean, the thing is about let me just carry on, because I don't want to lose the thread of what I was talking about. Now, like I said, I found that the Sun logo and the logo of this Sunrise Project a bit too similar. Now, for this to actually be true, we need proof that Steele or his company, which is called Review, are actually collaborating with the council. Yeah. Now, I did send you another link that shows a document called the Northeast Local Economic Partnership Smart Specialization Report. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got that. I'll get that up and I'll stick it on. I'll put it on screen share in a second. You carry on.
Yeah. So basically, the Northeast Local Economic Partnership Smart Specialization Report is a PDF that I found, a document, and it involves all the 7 local authorities, including Gateshead. Now, they talk about this being obviously, you know, pushing the smart agenda once again. And what it says is they collaborate with some companies, and one of the companies listed in that document is his company. It's listed as one of the council's collaborators. Now, given that this project is between councils and collaborators, yeah, and now we found evidence that his company is collaborating within the Smart Specialisation report for the Northeast Local Economic Partnership. So now, you know, it kind of throws into doubt his whole, why is he fighting the council when he's so involved with them at the same time? So myself and other people have just deduced the idea that you know, he's trying to say that his idea of stopping 5G, which he claims will be achieved by his new political party called Sun, is basically a gatekeeping exercise, because the idea in the first place, and I know I should have gone with intuition in the first place, but the idea that a political party could be established in time to stop 5G is a fallacy. Because how long is it going to take to implement and you know, get a political party up and running? And we've got 5G, which has already been rolled out in lots of places, and it's going to be here fully in 2 years. So as far as I'm concerned, given all of everything that I've seen, I no longer trust him, and I don't know who. I think he's working for the EU's Horizon 2020 project.
Sorry, Annie, I don't want to interrupt you, but I don't think anybody can hear you, because I've got one of these. I've got YouTube open, and now it's buffering. So there are people. We're losing people right, left, and centre, and everyone's saying it's buffering in chat room. So I don't know what's going on. Whether that's Well, any ideas out your end, Webby? How do we get it to? I can't.
It's running. YouTube's running now. It is running.
Oh, right. Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. I didn't. I'm sorry. It's buffering at my end, and then I saw a load of people were buffering, and then
Somebody said that it was buffering. I'm just refreshing it now and double checking.
Good man. Well, let's take a break anyway. We take a break and just have a quick record. Is that all right with you, Anne?
Yeah, of course. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. We're up and running.
Okay, well, we're up and running, so we're going to play a record. It's what we normally do anyway at top of the hour, and then we can continue, because I do believe a lot of people did have quite a few buffering issues at that point, so let's just hope everything sorts itself out. Well, I'll play a record, and then we'll be back. Welcome back to Raconteurs News on this Monday evening. It's the 19th of November 2018, and listen, I've got this plan. I'm going to try and get myself in trouble. I'm going to see if I can get sent to prison for teaching my stump to do a Nazi salute. Now, I've been practicing. Now I'm going to do this. I'm in my wheelchair at the moment, so just bear with me. Okay.
Is this how you crack your ribs?
No. This is not ready. This is a Nazi salute with your stump. I'm definitely going to prison, aren't I? A man who taught his stump to do a Nazi salute. Anyway, listen, welcome back to the show. It's the second hour. We've got Anne-Marie Carey with us. I just want to, just before we start picking up on Anne's story, I just want to tell you about tomorrow night. In fact, I'll get Webby to tell us about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we've got a whistleblower, haven't we, Webby?
Yeah, we've got Tina Buckler. I was speaking with her earlier today. She's an ex-prison officer. She's going to be coming on, and she's blown the whistle on what's happened to her in the 13 years that she served in the prison service. And it's a similar, it's a story that you hear from across the public sector. We've heard it from John Widger, Michael Feely in the police. We've heard it from the nurses, we've heard it from fire. It's across the board, so it's going to be interesting to hear, because not many people really hear anything about the prison service. It's like the original Secret Service. Nobody talks about it. You don't hear about it on the news very often. So it's going to be an interesting perspective.
It certainly is, and I'm looking forward to that, as I was looking forward to this tonight. And it's been interesting so far. There's been so much information, and it's been quite difficult to follow. But Anne certainly knows her stuff, don't you, Anne? We were, I think we had a bit of a buffering problem before the break. So I don't know actually where we were. So perhaps where do you want to go now?
Right. Well, shall I just do a quick recap of what I just said?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, so basically I've said that since I started to research about Steele, I found out that he's got smart technology being sold on defence websites, including an Israeli website, Homeland Security website. I also discovered that his company is involved with the North East Local Economic Partnership in a smart specialisation report, where they are collaborated with Review Worldwide Limited, and that's for all to see. I have also discovered that he's also linked to Horizon 2020 framework initiatives, which are called Civitas Urban Mobility, and one of those is called a Sunrise Project, which has got the same logo as his political party, called Sun, and that it even discusses the same thing happening, that councils and local collaborators collaborate together in neighbourhoods, called Living Labs, where they're going to test out projects and using street furniture. So that's where we're up to.
Well, I've got this. We just started talking about the North East Local Economic Partnership Smart Specialisation Report. Can't even read my own computer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
we were just talking about that, and I'd put that on the screen as a screen so everyone could see it, and that's when we had the problems with the buffering. So I can try it again.
Right. Well, I think you don't have to, and people, they've heard, they can go and check it out if they want to. It's up to you, really. So anyway, sorry, yeah.
No, I was just going to say. So basically, what you're framing out there, if all these affiliations are correct, and I haven't even had time to check out your links or your research. But if those affiliations are correct, then there's an opposition stance here, because there's a stance against 5G. Yet there's a claim that it could be partially beneficial for 5G, or is it in certain areas? I'm not sure. I don't even know what Mark's companies are. I don't know anything about Mark in that direction. So it's interesting that you bring this information out, and that as you clearly state, that people can go and look at this stuff openly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I find it rather strange that someone who's fighting the council is also, his company is collaborating with them on the smart specialisation. It just does. To me, that's a big red flag there. I mean, how can you claim to be so against them when you're actually involved in something like that? And you can't deny that he's not a collaborator with the council, because I've got the document, and I've shared it and the links under my YouTube video to show the document. The document shows that there is this partnership, and his company is involved in it. So, that to me is a big red flag. So when I've put everything together, including, his hostility towards experts, his refusal to allow proper testing to go on, his lies about the whole situation in the first place, and then his constant refusal to answer any questions, all he can do is resort to calling people names, calling me names, or the 5G denier, or she's this or she's that, or I'm being handled. He says I'm being handled by the government, or I'm mentally unstable. Well, I'm sorry, I've been doing so much research and work over the years. I think I've proven that I'm not mentally unstable. I'm far from it. Okay.
You've certainly given people the chance to go and make their own minds up then, because as me and Jason were discussing, we wanted to get both sides, or even if there was more sides to this story, but certainly both sides to this story out there. The claims that you've made have been put there for all to go and check out. Hopefully Jason can add the links below the video later, and people can go and check it out for themselves, and let the cards fall where they may.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've got a lot. Like I said, I've got my analogical uncensored website, and I've got extensive reports on that. So if anybody wants to find out anything to do with the 5G, the organisations and government bodies and all that are behind it, that's all there on that. Now, I also find it odd, the whole story about how he came to be going to court, because the claims are that two women went to his house, parked outside, argued with him while he went indoors to Google who they were. Very kind of them to wait outside, of course. Now, one of them was the deputy leader of Gateshead Council. Now, she was also attended the council meeting in the first instance when I first seen one of his videos, which was filmed with him questioning the council on the 5G issues back last year. So why would he need to go in and Google who she was when his company had already been collaborating with the council, and he's also already met her? So I think the whole story now, to me, is very questionable. We're also told that there's also a film of him being served papers by the council by a policeman and a council worker. Now, I've been told by those who are familiar with this that that's not what usually happens. That's not the jurisdiction of the councillor or the policeman to serve papers. That's undertaken by members of the court system. Maybe we know more about that, being aware of that.
No, say that again. Sorry, you broke off this end.
Right. Well, basically, there was the film made where he was served papers by the council member and a policeman. And I've been told on good authority as someone who's familiar with that area that this would not be the case, because it wouldn't be the jurisdiction of a councillor or a policeman to serve such papers. That would have to be undertaken by a member of the court system.
An officer of the court?
Yeah.
That's been interesting stuff. It is all very interesting stuff, and it's just a shame that a community's sort of been torn apart by a light, a lamppost.
There's a comment in the chat room that you mentioned earlier that you're being labelled as being mental. There's a comment saying that you think that the court cases didn't happen, and that you think Mark is a government agent, which is what people are claiming that you are. So what's your answer to that?
Well, my answer to that is he must be involved in the EU's funding research projects. He's obviously involved in the council projects to do with the smart specialisation. That's been proven. And he's also linked to this Civitas Urban Mobility programme, or else he wouldn't have it linked in on his profile. So to me, I'm not saying he's an agent at all. I'm just saying he has got some dubious links that need to be explained. And why is he supposedly in a battle with the council when he's actually collaborating with them over this smart specialisation agenda? So, I'm not saying. I think that's a perfectly reasonable conclusion to come to.
You mentioned off air about the court case, and as I said in the claim, that you thought the claim is that you think the court cases didn't happen. But you mentioned something about the court case.
Right. Now, in the first instance, it was claimed that he was at the magistrate's court, and these were charges for harassing local officials. Right. This is what's been reported. Now, the case supposedly was dropped because the magistrate knew the councillor. So then Steele claimed to be demanding that it was heard at the Crown Court. Every single case that is heard at the Crown Court is reported in the law pages. Every single case. Now, this case was not in the law pages. There was a lawyer in America, and she asked Steele for the court transcripts for 2 weeks because she was representing people who were electrosensitive, and she's seen it as a small victory. But she didn't want to take the word of the Chronicle paper. She needed the transcripts. So she'd been asking Steele for the transcripts for 2 whole weeks. He even offered to pay for them. Now, after 2 weeks, and he wouldn't give her any information, he resorted to his usual name calling until she went away, just like he did with the experts. That's what he does. He just call your names till you just say, I'm not having anything to do with you. So anyway, I got the case number from Ian Crane because I asked questions on his Facebook group, and we were given the link. Now, it was a county court case. Now, we know that Newcastle, the building in Newcastle, holds both the Crown Court and the County Court, but it was never a Crown Court case. Now, that's what I've been saying all along. It was not a Crown Court case, because if it was, it would have been in the law pages. Right? There's no exception to that rule. If it's a case is in the Crown Court, it would be in the law pages. And you would be able to get a transcript for the case. Now, you can't get transcripts for county court or magistrate court cases, okay? So, now, the other thing was the judge who was supposedly at that case Judge Nolan is also an advocacy trainer. In other words, he would preside over cases that weren't real. This judge who has proclaimed Steele is a qualified expert on 5G. How do we know? The thing is, the Home Office and a lot of organisations are being funded by the EU Horizon 2020 framework. Okay, they're all on the payroll, as well as Gateshead councils, as well as thousands of other government agencies and institutions. They're all pushing this smart agenda. Okay, this Horizon 2020 framework is funding over 2,300 organisations. They're all pushing this smart agenda. Now, if I'm right, and it links to these agencies and also to the council is correct, it wouldn't be that difficult to have a case in the court whereby it would be actually an advocacy training session, but people who are in there, if they weren't privy to that information, for all intents and purposes, it's a real case to them. Because you've got to think, if this is part of an agenda of a project that involves the council, the Home Office is involved, obviously. All the universities are all involved. Most of the universities, all the councils, there's so many departments who are involved in pushing this agenda. Then how do we know that the whole case wasn't just another advocacy training course? And I'll tell you, the testing course, and I'll tell you for why as well, is because one of his supporters mentioned that they weren't allowed in. The public weren't allowed into the case because they said that the courtroom was too small. So not everybody who wanted to be there was allowed to be there. So obviously they had some people in there. But this is just my opinion. I'm not saying everybody's got to believe what I believe in. I'm just saying this is my opinion. I believe that this judge, now this is a judge who sits in Crown Court cases and stuff. It just seems to me a bit odd that a Crown Court case was reported, yet there's no proof of it in the law pages. And also, when do we ever hear of a Crown Court case listening to someone who shouted at council officials? I thought Crown Court cases were supposed to be about things, serious matters. And also, he's supposedly been gagged from talking about 5G, which he hasn't. Why is he still doing interviews? He's still doing interviews, so he hasn't been gagged to be talking about 5G at all. He's been told not to harass the council officials in the magistrates' court. Now, like I mentioned, the EU Horizon 2020 framework has got there's a lot of organisations, government institutions, councils, a lot are all on the payroll. So it wouldn't be a problem to have this created for, to fulfil this man's role, if you like, as being, this is a person everybody should be following. And obviously, what will he say when the time comes to join my political party and all that? Well, sorry, but, a bit too late for political parties in this era, I think.
So, what in essence you're saying is a possibility is that this judge is a judge who does mock court cases.
He does mock trials, okay? If you look on his website, it says that he is a trainer for advocacy, so he's used to doing mock trials. Yeah. Right.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. What's your thoughts, Webby? I can see you sitting there all pensive and thoughtful. What's your thoughts on that? What do you think just the possibilities, or what do you think?
The possibilities. Well, within the judicial system, the possibilities are endless. I've voiced my opinion many times on the theory of the parking eye case law, so-called case law, Beavis versus parking eye. Beavis won at every stage, county court, Crown Court, I think, and then appeal court. But then there was a Supreme Court. We don't even know whether Beavis attended or anything like that. But he went for a panel of 4 judges, and I think that the basic, off the top of my head, the basis was a car park that had a sign saying "Don't park." Over 2 hours, it's a £75 fine. Well, apparently 3 judges agreed that that's a deemed contract, so you've got to pay it. And the 4th judge said that's not a deemed contract. It's either a contract or it isn't. You can't deem it. It is not a contract, which is your remedy, because these aren't contracts, so there's no basis for this stuff. Yet they do, as I say, they do mock things like this to present test case, administrative law that people just see as legislation. They think they've got to follow it, and they don't contest it. And the system will then protect it if it's worth protecting for the system. There's nothing these people could get up to. So that's why it was interesting to see both sides of it. People have got to start asking questions. There's no way that people should listen to just anything and believe. They've got to go and do their own research. We're not in the era of I vote for Labour because my dad did. That's rubbish. You can't do that anymore. Go and find out why you want to vote Labour.
Right.
Go on, Anne.
Right, okay. So what I was going to say is that he makes a lot of claims without substantiating without any substantiating evidence to prove what he's saying is correct. For instance, when he was filmed outside the court, he claimed that Gateshead was higher in incidences of brain cancers than everywhere else, according to the Public Health England. Well, I've searched the government statistic websites and the Public Health England websites, and there doesn't exist any data that shows that at all. Now, no one is claiming that microwave radiation is safe here. Okay, the dangers of it have been fully documented by groups such as Powerwatch and Benbury for decades, long before Steele. That's why there's cancers and there is miscarriages and there is health problems everywhere. Thousands of studies prove this. I've got loads of them myself on my website. I've collected thousands of such studies, and it's also well documented about the health effects of LED lighting. It's not in dispute that these facts are, these are facts about the health risks and stuff like that and what they're causing people. We know that anyway, right? What is in dispute here is the facts being put forward by Steele and his links to the agencies who are on the payroll to further the smart agenda, including the bloody council he's supposed to be at loggerheads with. Now, I take offence to be called a stalker, claiming that I'm stalking him because he spurned my advances, when I've never even spoken to the guy in person. And apart from a few emails in the early days, I've had conflict with him ever since because he lied about the experts in the first place. He lied that they stated that it was not 5G in the first place. And I can prove that because I've got the email to prove it. I spoke to them on the phone and they categorically denied it. So to me, anyone who lies like that can't be trusted and should be in no way in a position to lead anything. Now, many people are aware of this man's links, and anyone asking him simple questions is always called the same thing: you're a 5G denier. It's a classic example of how they use tactics to avoid answering any questions. And on the subject of Lee Garrett, I took screenshots of his comments to me, seen by many people, in which he claimed he will come to my house if I don't debate with him live on Facebook, because he knows where I live and he knows all about me. I've got that screenshot, so you can't pretend you never said it afterwards, Lee. Now, the facts are the facts, and the proof, that's all there is proof and facts, and that's what we have to go on. I've saved all the links to everything that's just happened to prove that they're factual. Now, it seems to me that Lee's eagerness to stop 5G may have clouded his judgment, because joining in calling me a 5G denier without knowing all the facts doesn't really show a level of intelligence that has been bestowed upon him as a candidate for Steele's son political party. I also noticed in an interview last night he gave that he never ever mentions who's really behind this agenda. He will not even acknowledge the Agenda 2030, and when he's asked about it, well, last night in an interview, he's asked who's behind 5G, and he said the bankers. Now, he's also claimed in his interview last night that the CIA in the military taken out by this technology. Well, hang on a minute. I've shown extensive involvement by the CIA using this venture capitalist company called In-Q-Tel, which funded most of the software and the hardware companies that are going to be driving the smart agenda and the Internet of Things. And this was started by George Tenet in 1999, including all the tracking devices, wireless sensors, embedded systems, nanotechnology, just to name a few. The list of companies is extensive, and like I say, I documented it all on my website. In 2012, the CIA Director Petraeus attended an In-Q-Tel conference in which he stated that these companies will help to locate, track, identify, monitor and remotely control items of interest, which allows them to have their near continuous monitoring of everywhere of anyone they choose, and that they need to swim in the ocean of big data. He then thanked them for being diabolically clever and at the forefront of innovation, and they are also involved in collecting and analysing lots of the data on social media. So for him to turn around and state that the CIA will be the first people who end up getting zapped with this is just absolutely ridiculous. It's also claimed that it's a true totalitarian nightmare on a massive scale because they've been investing, this is the CIA in this In-Q-Tel company, they've been investing massive amounts of taxpayers' money, £100 million a year, right back from 1999, into private companies, and many of them, they themselves are on the board of. So, and, other people who are involved in the rollout of the 5G, we've got the Canadian Pension Fund. The Canadian Pension Fund, which has existed since 1962 and went from 85 billion in 2016 to 365 billion in 2018, is the largest pension administration in Canada and holds the pension funds of 17 million people. They are actually funding the 5G rollout in the UK, including the infrastructure, testing equipment, and even the spectrum for 5G. Now, the Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board invests in oil, gas, electricity, petrochemicals, infrastructure, 5G technology, communications, real estate. There are more real estate in the UK than in Canada or the rest of Europe. And it's a consortium that includes Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System and the Teachers Pension Plan as well. Now, there's huge amount of companies that are involved in what these people are doing on like CIA-funded companies such as Qualcomm and Facebook, and all. They're all. You've got to realise it's like a web that everybody's involved in. This company, this Canadian pension plan, they also partnered up with Blackstone in January of this year to buy out Reuters. So now they've got Reuters News as a part of their lost the track. Oh yeah, they've got the Reuters News as part of their private equity firm, so that they can further their mission objectives. Now, they're also heavily invested in the energy infrastructure, including shale gas, and they've got a 50% stake in Milton Park, which is the biotech research company, which is involved in 5G, as well as Oxford University are at the forefront. Then they've got a big, massive, I think they own 40% of Akiva, right? They're also involved in the National Lottery, airports, shopping centres, and they had something to do with the Brexit vote as well. But this company, they own 40% of Akiva. Now, Akiva is the UK's preeminent national provider of TV and radio broadcasting infrastructure. It's the leading provider of services. It's the leader investor in 5G infrastructure, including small cells and antenna systems, the leading smart meter contractor, the leading portfolio of wireless infrastructure sites, a provider of smart meters for water, gas and electricity, a contractor to many councils to roll out 5G cell towers. And in 2007, they began the sale of its the mobile masts as well. And they also snapped up the license for the 28 gigahertz spectrum, which has already been trialled abroad. And they plan to deliver smart meters to millions of homes over the next few years. So, they're that's another group of people who are heavily involved. Plus, Arqiva and Samsung held the first 5G field test in the UK in 2017. They've also got Civica. Now, Civica is the digital partner of 140 local authorities, thousands of schools, 50 universities, healthcare provide, majority of the blue light services. They also partner 20 government departments, including the Home Office, the Foreign Office, Commonwealth Office, and also help the Foreign Office in responses to crises. Now, this is how this tangled web, this spider's web of what is going on. During the Manchester Arena attack, Civica was the digital partner of Manchester Council, and it also had links to the owners of the arena. Yeah. Now, they were also in the department in charge of revenues and benefits for the Grenfell Tower. They were also partners to Westminster Council when the London attack supposedly happened, and they owned Brussels Airport when that attack happened as well. So, we can see how these companies are interlinked and involved in a lot more than 5G. It goes way back more, far more intricate than just the 5G. Now, like I said, I found out that the proof that all the Terralator attacks had all been testing 5G technology in some form or another, and what's really interesting that's just come out just recently, is sort of gone off the subject a bit, but it's the National Infrastructure Commission claimed that small cell towers are going to be placed every 200 to 300 metres to enable this 5G smart agenda. In July, Bill Gates has got a new startup company called Pivotal, and he's tested the millimetre wave technology, and he's found a way to tackle that problem. Now, Pivotal's system essentially grabs the signal outside the glass and amplifies it, pushing it through the other side of the living room or throughout the house. So they won't need one base station serving 10 houses. So they've perfected a beamformer which can connect with a base station half a kilometre away. Now, that's going to be on the market in 2019. Now, so they've done the testing in July, and then a couple of months later in September, he decided to go with 4 undisclosed companies, and they're going to have that ready for public in 2019. So, we can always rely on Gates, can't we, to perfect the old Agenda 2030 problems. So, yeah, so there's something that something that I noticed about Steele is his refusal to talk about any of the links to the smart agendas of the UN's Agenda 2030 and its obvious population control. He completely will not touch it at all. Now, they've also got electromagnetic mind control technologies, where they can use electromagnetic waves to hijack a person's brain and nervous system and subvert an individual's sense of control over their own thinking and behaviour and emotions and decision making. So, it's be too late when it's rolled out. We don't have that luxury of allowing it to be rolled out. It has to be stopped before it becomes rolled out, because once it does, if they can hijack people's brains and your thinking, as well as what they can do to you on a physical level, then we're not going to be able to think properly and say, right, what should we do? Right, let's organise and do that. You won't have that. You won't be able to do that. So,
Annie, I remember. I always go back to a story about 15, 20 years ago. I went into either an HMV megastore or a Virgin megastore or something like that, and there was a square taped off in the middle of the floor, and when you walked into the square you heard music, but when you walked out of the square you didn't hear music, because the music wasn't audible. It was being beamed into your head. That's 15 to 20 years ago. Now you imagine that music being converted into a voice that is just a voice, that anybody would know that is not their voice. But we have so many people now on medications with mental ailments and stuff like that, and you're talking about putting that into a 5G soup that people are stuck in. That is dangerous stuff. We're talking. It is dangerous stuff.
It's absolutely lethal, and that's why there's no two ways about it. It has to be stopped before it gets before it gets allowed to be fully implemented. It has to be, or it's bloody game over. It's as simple as that. Now, the lies that they've told to create this market, they're claiming it's for faster downloads and better connectivity, and it's all bullshit, because even the ex-director of Ofcom has confirmed that it's no guarantee of either of those things. In fact, there's already a software that exists called TIMS, TIMMES, which negates the need for all the expensive infrastructure at all. And I've got that link on my website as well. So we can see that that there needs to have all this technology out there, not because of so-called better and faster phone, mobile use and all that. I mean, who wants to watch a bloody film on your mobile anyway? It's like, you can download a film like in so many seconds quicker or whatever. It's just the nonsense.
Believe me, I know people who want to do that. Jason, any thoughts, Tin Man?
Sorry, mate, I was just trying out a few of them solutions. When you talked about getting into your brain and things, I think we could...
Social.
It does suit me, doesn't it? I've invented something. The tinfoil hat. Who'd have thought it, eh? The tinfoil hat. Who'd ever somebody had invent that?
A lad from Sheffield and all.
We've got a few questions, as you can imagine, but they keep flying past so quick that it's difficult to keep hold of them. And we are Andy here to babysit the chat room, then it gets a bit out of our control. But I did pick up on one from your friend, Lee, and I just want you to respond to this. He says she's just making up lies to make us believe that our kids aren't at risk. Now, I don't think that's something that you've said, isn't it? That there's no risk involved in this. It's just that you've said that they're not implemented it at the moment.
I don't understand why you can say that, because what we've already got now is already something that's causing risks to our children. Okay, it's already the radiation that the kids are being bombarded with in schools, with the Wi-Fi and everywhere. It's going to affect children and pregnant women and the elderly and people who are. It's already affecting them now. That's the technology that's being used now is already affecting them. Okay, when the 5G is rolled out fully, well, you can times that by I don't know how many. I don't understand why he seems to think that by saying that the Gateshead lampposts are not emitting 5G, it means that I'm saying that 5G is not a real thing and it's not happening anywhere. Of course it is. I've told you, I've already documented all the places where it's happening, including all the test beds, including all the covert testing that's gone on. All of it, I've documented it all on my website. All I'm saying is that the Gateshead lampposts were not emitting 5G, okay? And that's been proven by experts. Now, if he wants to carry on claiming that because I'm saying that makes me a 5G denier, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. How can I be a 5G denier when I'm researching and putting all the information about 5G and everywhere it's being rolled out and all the companies and everything to do with it, yeah? Which is not something that Steele's doing, is it? All he ever talks about is Gateshead. He never mentions all the other areas where 5G really is being rolled out on his website. He only ever concentrates on Gateshead. Now, for someone who supposedly wants to start a political party that involves the whole of the UK, why is he not interested in all the places where it is being rolled out? He's the one who's been a 5G denier.
Well, Dave Von Kleist's comment is, it's a weapons system. Shh.
Well, we know that's a weapons system, I mean, I've already done research on DARPA. DARPA started the whole beamforming weaponry, and a couple of years ago they gave contracts to private companies to to move along with the beamforming technology, which is exactly what Bill Gates has run with. And that's what I just told you about with his new answer to not having to have small cell towers every 200 or 300 metres. That's his answer to it. So it is military. It is a military weapon. I know it's a military weapon. Of course I do. That's why I've documented it all on my website. So I don't understand Lee Garrett's I don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah, well, Bill Gates he's well documented with the depopulation agenda. The TED Talk alone, where he says his equation equals to lowering the population, and he says with a good, decent vaccination program, we can lower the rate of population increase. You know, that's what he states. These people haven't hidden it from people. It's just they know people don't bother going and looking about what they're talking about. They're interested in Love Island and things like that. The people aren't interested until it affects their lives. And as you were saying, if 5G affects you, it's already too late.
Yeah, this is the thing, you see. I mean, like I said, it just got recently rolled out in Manchester, Greater Manchester. That was by Vodafone, and they're saying that further 6 cities are going to be getting rolled out: Birmingham, Bristol, Cardiff, Glasgow, Liverpool, and London. They're going to be going full 5G soon. Yeah.
I've seen a few claims coming over from Holland where. When they did the 5G testing of the claims were there was a lot of bird deaths.
Yeah. Seen that, I know. Yeah, it's just it's unbelievable. You know what?
It's a bonkers world, isn't it?
Right?
It's a bonkers world.
It is a bonkers world. I'm beginning to feel a bit like Jeremy Kyle. So we've got we've got somebody in chat room, and it's one of our regular listeners. It's somebody called Alice George. God, I can't remember. Alice Georgeson, for God's sake. Alice Georgeson. Now she keeps repeatedly asking, "Why did you lie about me?" And now I don't know. Sorry.
Do you know what?
No. All I'm going to say is she goes by Ali Cat George on Facebook.
I know exactly who she is. Okay.
All right.
The thing is, you know what happens is you go on social media, you upset a couple of people. I've been on social media now for probably 10, 12 years. I've probably upset maybe a handful of people. I don't think that's bad going, really, considering how many people fall out on social media. And the people who you do fall out with, they just won't, no matter what, they won't let things go at all. You know, I do not want to talk on air about something to do with her because it's got nothing to do with the subject matter.
Right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. What I was going to suggest anyway is that perhaps you spoke about it. You spoke about it privately anyway. But I just wanted her to know that I'd seen the message and that there you go. I've passed it on to you. I were going to ask you after we'd finished, but she were quite persistent, so I thought I'd get it in there. Listen.
Yeah, the same person's phoned me up in the summer and said she's taking me to court. Well, you know, because of something that I said on Facebook. Well, you go ahead and take me to court because you won't be the first person that said they're taking me to court. But I take it all with a pinch of salt by now. So can we just carry on with this?
Yeah, let's carry on with this. Okay. Like I said, I feel a bit like Jeremy Kyle. But how does this get resolved? What's the way to resolve this issue?
Well, there is a thing, you know, and it's called the precautionary principle. Yeah, and now it's detailed in Article 191 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, and it aims at ensuring a higher level of environmental protection through preventative decision-taking in the case of risk to human, animal and plant health. According to the Commission, the precautionary principle may be invoked when a phenomena, product or a process may have a dangerous effect, which has been identified by a scientific and objective evaluation. Specifically in this evaluation, that the evaluation does not allow the risk to be determined with sufficient certainty. In other words, you know, it's something they've got to prove to us that it's safe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think this is something that we could be using. We could be evoking this, you know, to say, well, you prove to us there's enough evidence to show us that you can't be certain that this is going to be safe. So you have to prove to us that it is.
Interesting. What about direct action? I suppose you wouldn't.
Well, direct action, I'd say to everybody, you need to become leaders in your own community. You need to become your own leader. Stop looking at other people to be leading you and telling you what to do. Right? You have to go into your own. If you are really concerned about 5G, then you'll do what 160 of us around the UK have already done. As we go to the councils, we pester them, we talk to people in the street, we give out leaflets whenever we can, we make people aware of the dangers of 5G, because if people don't know the dangers of 5G, how are they ever going to do anything to stop it? They just think, oh, it's just the next thing up from 4G, oh, there's nothing to worry about. People don't realise. So unless people are willing to talk to other people about it and get involved, that's why I'd say to people, have a look at our campaign that we're doing. Get involved in that or start your own campaign. But whatever you do, don't expect people to lead for you, because that's where we've always gone wrong. As far as I'm concerned, that's why we're in shit that we're in. Yeah, because we put our trust in these people and we think, oh, they're going to help us. No, because put these people in these positions of power. They're corrupt. They get compromised. They haven't got your best interests at heart. I mean, it's obvious to the majority of us now that the governments and the people in power and everybody else haven't got our best interests at heart, and neither have councils. Because if councils are out there, raking in the money from the Horizon 2020 groups and from the EU getting funding off these groups to do their bidding and just do whatever it is they ask, then they haven't got our best interest at heart either. And it's up to us. We've got to have our best interest at heart. And we've got to be telling them, listen, you're supposed to be representing us, and you're not. So we do something about that. That's what I believe that we should be doing. What do you think?
Go on. I'm sure Webby's got plenty of insight on that. I think, well, it don't matter what I think. Go on, Webby. You know what, you've got all solutions. You're the man with the dodgy shoulder.
The plan.
Yeah, mine always comes back to the money. The people are saying that there's no money for this, no money for that. People don't realise what power that they actually do have, but. Again, I can't even convince people that by trying to pay for bills, that they make this national debt worse, that creates this austerity where they've got to make cuts to our services because they've no money in the debt-based economy. If you can't explain that in simple terms to somebody, and then which they understand, they completely understand, but I don't know, they just freeze because there's nothing they can do about it. I understand that. I don't know what we can do apart from having numbers. If we had the numbers, we'd be fine.
I know what we can and we should be doing. Absolutely saying no to smart meters.
Well, I had a phone call last week, Annie, where a utility warehouse rang and said, "Hi, I'm ringing about smart meters. When can I book you?" No, not at all. What do you mean, not at all? I said, not at all. I said, I'm having a smart meter fitted in no circumstances whatsoever. Yeah. Oh, can I ask why? I said, there's many reasons why. I said, but I'm not willing to stand here and go into them right now, mate. I said, there's just no chance you're having one fitted here. And he went, that's fair enough, pal, thanks. That was it. They are saturating the area. I've seen the leaflets and everything.
They need the smart meters out there to implement this whole programme. I've got a PDF on my website, and it's a government report from 2012 from the Department of Energy and Climate, and it's called Smart Metering Implementation Programme. You find it on my website, like I said. And in one action it stated, smart meters in homes and businesses will sit at the interface between energy supply and demand, helping to modernise the energy industry. Smart meters are a critical part of the platform for the development of a smart grid and demand-side measures. So, there's the first and foremost thing, we need to be absolutely saying no to smart meters. And they're trying to say at some point in the future they're going to make them compulsory, but they can't force people to have something that they don't want.
It's statutory, Annie. That's what people keep. Somebody said to me, well, we've all got to have them by 2020. I said, no. I said, it's a statutory compliance. I said, they're talking to businesses. They only have jurisdiction over this. People don't understand the power that people have. They've been taught a system, man, that they don't know how to act properly in it. None of us do. We're just starting to pick up on this now. We're starting to learn. People are starting to ask questions. And then they say, well, what can we do? And, Jason might think I've got all the answers. In theory, yes, it's easy. It's easy to fix. The money problem, the money issue is easy to fix. It's been done in history before. It's easy to fix, but we need people in the right places with the right intentions. We've got too many intentions focused on asset stripping this country right now, but needing a control of the population. It's got to get messy before people get to that point. And I don't know when that is, because there's many a thing happened all of a sudden, like that, without any warning. And who knows where this goes on?
Well, as the first line of a famous speech, blood is the sole mover of the wheels of history. And unfortunately, that's probably what's going to have to happen, a little bit further down the line if things aren't sorted out. What do you think? I mean, we're not. I don't think we're not advocating violence here, of course, but it does seem like it's going to be an inevitability if we're going to get rid of these pieces of shit that are controlling his life.
That's the other thing, Jason. That's what they've prepared for, because now everybody's looking at this. They have already prepared. I've said before about how the policing's changed in 30 years. The police have prepared for civil war. They're even trying to whip it up with, Pied Pipers who are dancing a tune that people are dancing to. People don't realise just what a dangerous melting pot we're in at the minute.
No, and the other thing as well that I do want to mention is the fact that they're trying to say that the rollout of smart meters is going to help a sustainable energy supply. But what they're not actually telling you is the research states that the communications industries could use 20% of all the world's electricity by 2025. So now all this digital data is from billions of smartphones and tablets and internet connected devices and all that is going to grow exponentially. So the smart grid and the smart cities, they want to have the smart meters in there so they can monitor your monitor your energy, how much energy you're using, because at some point in the future they're going to go, oh, and by the way, all these data centres now, they've all drained the energy supply, so we're going to have to ration you all, and we can see you, Mrs. Jones, there, you've already used your energy supply for this week, so sorry, you won't have any energy for the next week, or whole neighbourhoods could be turned off if they use their energy supply up. So they're going to, they've already got the research that is claiming. Now, we know they have free energy, okay? We know there's free energy there, and we know that they're not going to, admit to the people that we don't need to be buying all this stuff because you can have it for free. Obviously, they're not going to admit that. But the thing is, this is all part of a coordinated plan. So that at some point, they'll use the energy, which, like you said, they're already doing now. But then they'll start saying, oh, well, sorry, we've used too much of our world's electricity. Now we're going to have to start rationing you or taxing you on, so it won't be any good if you've got your smartphone that can download something in 10 seconds or wherever, because if there's no energy supply, you won't be able to use anything anyway.
Push you a bit forward into the future, and then take into the transhuman agenda, where they're asking people to now take chips in a 5G network grid of soup. It's absolute madness what people are being asked to do, but there's many who will skip merrily down the way and do all this stuff. I mean, the chips that 20 years ago you were a nutter if you were talking about people having microchips. you've got a company now engaging Daily Mail article stating that this company is now talking to British companies to bring in microchips for security, for blah, 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 all these kinds of things. It's dangerous times what people live in, and, people still think banks lend them money, and you can't get past that. People have taken their eye off the ball so much, and things have been taught and twisted that I find myself where I've had to unlearn everything I've been ever taught.
Yeah. That's the thing we have to do, because there's so much lies and misinformation out there, and people have just been getting on with their lives and, trying to struggle just to make ends meet and, working day to day and hand to mouth, and it's all a bit too much for people, and they just can't cope with anything more than what they're trying to deal with. But what they don't realise is what's sneaking up in the background and the horizon, which is something that insidious agenda.
Yeah, that's just it. You've got poverty at its highest levels, and people are claiming because it's no money, and then you've got this 5G thing coming in on top. Yeah, there's a lot of factors now pointing to a very, very, very big agenda. Even though me and Jason both know there is no agenda, is there, Jason?
None whatsoever. Absolutely none. No transgender agenda.
No agenda for any agenda.
Nothing.
Whatsoever.
There is nothing at all. They want you to have a smartphone because they care about you, and they want to know where you are at all times. So that you're safe.
Look after you, make sure you're safe, I mean,
don't forget, Alexa, that doesn't listen to your calls, has just had a call order for its records to be revealed for a stabbing that happened in the household, to see what Alexa may have heard.
Yeah.
But it's not listening.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it? Strange times. We had a copper on who said that one time that they had to apply for a warrant and go through procedures to actually wiretap you, to listen to you. He says, now you go to Amazon and buy it for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's getting to that stage now where they just want to be, in control of everything. They've got all this nanotechnology. I mean, that FCC chairman there's a YouTube video about him talking, and he was saying, we'll have the nanotechnology and everything, it'll be everywhere. And that's the other thing as well, everything that we've been bombarded with, including the vaccines, the chemtrails and everything, it's all because them heavy metals will soak up the radiation that they've got planned for everybody, so we've got that, the chemtrails and everything, so that's going to soak up all the radiation, so there will be no escape. Now that's the whole reason why they've always maintained that this non-ionising radiation was safe, because they knew right from the beginning that it wouldn't be safe. Right back in the 80s when they first started doing all the tests and claiming that these were their safety tests, they ignored all the information from everybody apart from the industry-led studies. That Raconteurs guy who set all the, he was an insider for the telecommunications company, and he allowed all them standards to be set using all this the standards that were going to cause, because this has been a plan, this agenda's been this has been put in place a long time ago. This is the time to fulfill it, and that's why we need to let people know, even if people are not aware of Agenda 20 and what they've been doing for so long. And now they're all involved in it, including the UN and DARPA and CIA and government.
The thing is, Annie, if there is one conspiracy out of everything that you've named there, if one is correct, they all are correct, because it's that dangerous.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
well,
anyway, thanks for letting me have my say. I really appreciated that.
That's no problem at all, and it was a pleasure. It was difficult at times, and to be honest with you, we weren't really no disrespect to you, but we weren't really looking forward to the amount of abuse that we might get. God, shit popping up on my thing.
Not from me, I hope.
Oh no, not from you. No, it's fine. No, just chat room, that sort of thing. We knew it were going to be a nightmare to monitor and to get into. So and to be able to try to read some of the questions and copy and paste some of the questions. But it were a complete nightmare. That's what I mean. We weren't looking forward to it, getting some abuse from people that didn't have the questions asked. So anyway, big thanks.
Yeah, I haven't even touched on even a little tiny bit of the stuff that I've researched and found out to do with 5G, There's so much more to it.
Well, we're more than happy for you to come back on and talk about that on another occasion, Annie. Like I said, Mark's research, your research, at the end of the day, people are all looking to get the truth out. Whether there is some other agenda that's going on, that remains to be seen. People can go and make their own decisions about that. But as you said, you've had your say, which is more than you're right, because people have made claims against you on our platform. You've definitely got the right to reply on this platform. And they always say people live by the sword, die by the sword. You come on and you've swung your sword and you've said, go here, look at this, here's the link, here's the evidence, You've pointed to all this. If people go and do that and then come back with the same thing that is against you, then come back and debate it with substance. That's what you'd want any critical thinker to do, wouldn't you? I certainly wanted people to do it with the work I was doing, because it's how everybody learns. I mean, Annie, if you come on here and you just knew everything, then you wouldn't need to come on here. You know what I mean? You're here to dispense knowledge. This is the first time I've spoken to you. As I said to you before, off air, but off air when I spoke to you was the first time. And we've been friends on Facebook a while, exchanging information. It's always been against the 5G, warning about this, warning about that. So I was interested to see what you had to say in response, and bringing documents forward to people to go and look at. That is all you can do at the end of the day, because you present your evidence and you stand by what you claim to be true. Whatever is not true always comes away, whether you want it to be true or not. If it's not true, it will always show eventually.
Yeah,
Marvelous.
Exactly. And I just want to get on with the campaign now. I've said what my part, and I just want to be able to get on with the campaign and reach more people, and that's all I'm interested in. But I did feel I needed to clear the air about all these allegations and stuff, and set the record straight. So I feel like I've done that, and then now it's up to people to make their own minds up.
All right, Anne, listen, it's been absolutely fantastic. We're a minute over, so we're at the end of the show. I'm not going to play out with any music. All I'm going to say is join us tomorrow night. We've got Tina Buckler joining us tomorrow night. She's a prison whistleblower. You don't want to be missing that, I promise you. It's going to be another explosive show like we've had, the one we've had tonight. Also, I'd like to say, don't forget to support Joan on People's Internet Radio. She's on, I think, after us tonight, or maybe tomorrow night. And or as well, Hairy Cookie Monster as well. He does a YouTube show on certain evenings. I don't know exactly when they are. Shame on me, but check them out and support them as well, because this is the platform where we're gonna be able to change things, and we're certainly not going to be able to do it any other way. So me and Paul will be back with you tomorrow night, and we'll see you then. Bye. Don't do a racism or a sexism.
Oh dear.